Well, this is pretty cool to see. I'm John Wrighton with the Retro Review of World Class Championship Wrestling International Star Wars from June 25th, 1983. This comes from the Classic Wrestling Stuff YouTube channel. They got some other events as complete as possible, and a couple other users have various other events that I can't wait to dive into, from Portland Wrestling, Championship Wrestling from Florida, more World Class, NWA. It's just really, really cool to see that this stuff has survived and people had the master tapes or however they acquired it. It's just really, really cool to see. And I can't wait to dive into this stuff in the coming months, because it's nice to see how, these big events played out in front of fans, and, do they hold up in the modern age? To an extent, they do. There are some things that weren't all that good, but then again, you're going to get that with events that are nearly 40 years old. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. This was during the boom period for World Class, where the Freebirds came in. Freebirds and Von Erichs were just, a legendary goddamn feud, one of the best feuds of all time. They were in Dallas, Texas, in Reunion Arena. That goddamn music intro, I can never hear it the same way again. If you know, you know. Bill Mercer welcomes us. We get All Japan Pro Wrestling commentary because there were some All Japan Pro Wrestling talents there, including Giant Baba, and, because he had All Japan, so that would make sense. And Mark Lawrence does the ring introductions, and man, he seemed like a nice guy, but he really didn't have, much of a booming personality, or much of any personality. He was just kind of there and very dry. Johnny Mantell took on Tenryu. Yes, a very young Tenryu. Starts slow with some good mat work. Tenryu works on the shoulder. Mantell does come back. Tries a monkey flip out of the corner. But, he gets knocked down. And then, a diving back elbow. 1, 2, 3. Tenryu gets the victory. Not that bad. Bill Mercer then, does commentary for most of the rest of the show. Though whenever there is a Japanese wrestler involved, the, Japanese commentary takes over. And they have a lot of enthusiasm. And then we get two women fighting over a championship I wasn't aware of. It's Vicky Carranza versus Lola Gonzalez, Mexican National Women's Championship. My knowledge of Mexican wrestling, AAA, CMLL, and various other promotions is very limited. So I do apologize for that. But this was kind of cool to see, because I was like, oh, something different, something I didn't know existed. And it wasn't dull. Like, the women did try, but this is also when women's wrestling was not necessarily revered as being, any more than just an attraction on the card. Like, it wasn't like a regular thing. There was some nice knee focus because Lola was a champion. So it's like, okay, Vicky hurt her knee. Lola's going to focus on it. She's going to get the victory. And then pace picked up. We get a near fall. We get a head collision. I don't know why Bill Mercer called that the flying body slam. It was very, very weird to call it that. Then a roll-up by Vicky, 1, 2, 3. Lola loses the championship. So despite all that knee focus, she couldn't get the victory. It's a victory. Ooh, boy, really struggled with that one. And new champion. We then get Jose Lothario, Chris Adams, and Chavo Guerrero, who later became Chavo Classic, Chavo Guerrero Sr., Bill Irwin, Fishman, and the Mongol with Skandar Akbar. I'm not really that familiar with the Mongol. Apparently, he worked in WWE a little bit after this. Fishman, apparently he lost a mask match in like 2000 and retired soon afterwards. Bill Irwin, of course, would later become the Goon. No, really, they thought turning a guy that was a pretty good territorial wrestler into a hockey player was a good idea. The whole occupation phase in WWE was weird. But it was cool to see Jose Lothario and Chavo Guerrero teaming up. And Chris Adams, at this point, he was fresh in World Class. This is pretty good. It wasn't great. Mongol wasn't that good. He just kind of strode. He kind of looked goofy. Crossbody by Chavo on the Mongol. 1, 2, 3. So, yeah, I mean, it's like, it was what it was. It was just to get the baby faces over. And then Mark interviews Michael Hayes and Buddy Roberts about Iceman King Parsons. They got the Freebird Cream. This is the hair versus hair match that was referenced in the World Class Championship Wrestling documentary that WWE did after they acquired the tape library. I encourage you guys to check out the 2-hour and 40-minute documentary that came out about World Class. The Heroes of World Class one. That was really goddamn good. In fact, they're great, companion pieces for each other, because you get, stuff more fleshed out in the 2-hour and 40-minute documentary, obviously, because it's longer. But WWE references some stuff and goes a little more in depth on stuff that was not talked about in that documentary. It's just really, really cool. It's a bit long. It's about, that's about 4.5 hours worth of stuff, but still really cool. This was the infamous one where, okay, would Iceman lose his hair, or would Buddy Roberts lose his hair? And talked about his hair. He says, you think you're Mr. T, but after this, you're going to be Mr. B, and the B stands for bald. Buddy Roberts, and he would only wrestle another, 5 years after this, he did some, he cut some great goddamn promos. Iceman King Parsons versus Buddy Roberts, hair versus hair match. We Are Family by Sister Sledge for Iceman King Parsons. Buddy just, tried to jack it off early by, wrapping Parsons' jacket around his head and just choking him out. Buddy was such a great heel. Iceman really did, do some good stuff here. He was really, really over with the crowd at this point, doing some great, shucking and jiving and stuff like that. Roll up with the tights, 1, 2, 3. So Buddy wins, but, he gets the cream. But then, Iceman was like, okay, I'm not losing my hair because my hair is all, cut weird. He levels him and then puts the cream on Buddy's head so it burns his hair off. And then he's got the headgear thing that WWE would later take and have Kurt Angle do that after he lost that hair versus hair match against Edge at, I believe, Judgment Day 2002. So this is pretty cool. This is a nice little thing to see because I was like, oh, okay, I get to see how this played out. Because it's always nice to see how this stuff plays out. LaGrange plays David Von Erich to the ring. And man, that's a great goddamn song. Back when ZZ Top made sense, as opposed to when they appeared on WWE Raw, and I don't think I had a goddamn clue where they were. David Von Erich versus Jimmy Garvin with Sunshine. Texas Heavyweight Championship match. It's a vacant championship because it was held up because they just wanted to not have the Von Erich, the Von Erichs lose because Dallas would have, burnt the arena to the ground because they loved the Von Erichs. Boy, did they ever. But if David wins, then Garvin and Sunshine will become his valets for a day at his ranch. And that would reference, when Garvin needed to get the Texas Heavyweight Championship back. If he didn't do this, he couldn't wrestle in Texas again, which would be funny because he would go to the AWA, I believe, sometime in 85. So he wouldn't be in Texas all that much longer, and then he would go to Jim Crockett Promotions. But anyway, at the time, it's like, okay, it was a good story. That poor goddamn dog of David Von Erichs. I mean, only because the dog... yes, it was for the storyline. He was yelling at his dog. I go, God, it's just a dog. It doesn't have a goddamn clue. It was a big dog, too. It was bigger than Sunshine. But anyway, the fans loved the Von Erichs. Pace was good. Mat work by Garvin and by David. Some really, really good stuff. Foot on the rope. David got that, but Sunshine pushes it off. So Garvin gets the victory, and he holds the Texas Heavyweight Championship. He holds it high. Crowd's booing. And then... we come back from a break. And it's funny, this is taped out of sequence, and actually was shown out of sequence, because Bill Mercer references this as in an earlier match, and then we get to see the match here. They tape their TV and syndicate it weird and everything, but there's a dispute. Garvin is mad. The belt is held up again. Great, good stuff. And then that would lead to David beating Garvin, and then having him and Sunshine be be valets on the ranch. It's like, I don't want to dig these holes. Oh, pick up this hay. I can't carry it all myself. Really, really good stuff. That was some cool. World Class was very innovative with how they did the outside the ring stuff. And anyway, here's Fritz to read a proclamation. And he calls Ted DiBiase Ted DiBiase. Whatever. Is what it is. Probably can get through Fritz's cauliflower ears. And we get Jumbo Tsuruta, my apologies, versus Ted DiBiase. NWA United National Championship. If you ever read up on Jumbo Tsuruta, it's really, really sad how, he had a pretty damn good career. Legend in Japanese wrestling, but just really, really sad how his life ended. He was only 49. Liver, issues and stuff like that. Just read up on it, you'll know what I mean. But he left a hell of a legacy in Japan. I need to see more Jumbo Tsuruta. This is good stuff. A nice psychology. Very good pace. It was cool to see a pre-$1 million man Ted DiBiase. And then a small package, 1, 2, 3. So Jumbo retains the championship. And then we get a cool backstage look as the champion is leaving. Then we get Fritz being interrupted by Bundy because this is a year or so after Fritz Von Erich retired. And that actually is on my watch list to, see the Fritz Von Erich, retirement show, which he only retired for like a couple years. And then when David Von Erich unfortunately passed away, he showed up as part of the 6-man tag match, just basically boost the house, which makes sense because, okay, Fritz, even though he was getting old and everything and shouldn't have been in the ring, it was cool that he got to be out there with his boys to, honor his fallen son. Really, really sad what happened to the Von Erichs. But, I'll tell you right now, David got it out in that match, and, man, this is back when Kerry Von Erich kept both feet on the ground for his match. So we get, King Kong Bundy versus Giant Baba. PWF World Title match. Oh dear. Big boot. 1, 2, 3. This was painful. Baba was never that great in the ring. And Bundy at this point, he could work fine when he worked with smaller guys. This wasn't good. This wasn't. I didn't expect it to be good. Baba was never a technician in the ring. He had a lot of injuries and a lot of issues because of the acromegaly and all that, giantism or whatever he had. And he was a great promoter, and he was very, very appreciative of wrestling, and he loved wrestling. He understood, he liked the NWA style, that stuff. That's really, really cool. He just shouldn't have been in the ring even at this point. He wrestled all the way, I think, until like 2 months or maybe 6 weeks before his death. Credit to him for being dedicated to it, but this match was not good. He does end up retaining the championship because he wasn't going to lose to King Kong Bundy, because Bundy was going to dumb himself right out of position. If you get that reference, you get it. So, 3-on-1 loser leave town match. Kamala, that was spelled with an I for some reason, with Akbar and his handler, took on Tola Yatsu, Mike Bond, and Arman Hussein, who was the African heavyweight champion. Okay. I heard the name Arman Hussein. That is all I can tell you. This is bad. So Kamala wins. Hussein just leaves like a minute into the match. It was only like 4 minutes, if that. Brody runs in, lays out Kamala, and then earlier comments from Brody, how he's, back in Texas, for the first time in a while. He's been away. And he said, well, the Freebird said, well, Bruiser Brody, he's not a man of his word. Well, I've shown up, and I'm going to, do right by the Von Erichs. Then we get Kevin Von Erich versus Harley Race, and this is pretty good stuff. NWA title match, over the top rule is waived, which is good because that was a stupid rule. And I understood it at times, but I think they just overuse it so much, at least the territories I've seen where it's like, okay, we get it. It just always seemed like a stupid rule to me. Maybe that's just something from the old days that just didn't translate to me. Well-paced, shoulder, Kevin's shoulder was hurt, and Harley kept focusing on it. Kevin does do that cool leg scissors. I mean, just the strength that he had to do that. That was really impressive. Kevin keeps fighting on, and David comes down to encourage Kevin, like, hey, maybe stop or whatever. We don't want you to be crippled. And then Harley kicks him, so David attacks him and basically says, well, whether it's you or Flair, if I can't beat you, I'll quit. Okay, that's a pretty nice hook. And then we get Kerry Von Erich with, again, both feet on the ground, versus the Freebirds. He teamed up with Bruiser Brody, of course, American tag titles. Hayes did a fighter promo before where he was talking about, bro, I can't believe Brody showed up, and talking about the Von Erichs. You're not going to run us out of town. And talk about what Parsons did to Roberts when he got to the ring. It's good stuff. Crowd loved it. And really, this match was pretty quick. Brody tosses Kerry onto Hayes 1, 2, 3. They win the tag titles, and that's it. That is your International Star Wars event. I have more events like this to review, but let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm Charles Rethlin. I'll see you soon.